Hi everyone, welcome to the Restaurant Agility Summit. I'm Dave Carroll, I'm CMO at Zenput. Very excited to have you all here engaging with all of us, taking time out of what I know are some very busy days these days to take advantage of some of the sessions. So today I am very excited to dive into a really important topic around technology and how that's fundamentally changing how restaurants are managing their businesses. We're going to take a look at not only kind of where it's brought us, but look ahead at some of the trends and some of the things to be aware of. And we're going to give you a glimpse at how we're innovating here at Zenput to be part of all that. So if you think about innovation in restaurant, we're all swimming in it. And if you look at the last decade, probably over a decade, there's been so much innovation, largely focused on front of house technologies, POS systems, loyalty, online ordering. And these have very importantly given the consumer new and different ways to purchase the foods that they love. For the brands, it's given them a really new way to extend the experience that they're providing customers to create loyalty. What we're seeing now in the last few years is innovation kind of transferring to the back of the house, where there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of brands that are taking advantage of how do I fundamentally change the way I set up my teams to do work? How am I tracking work and how am I creating a more productive workplace? And this is really, we're talking about the world of operations execution. So to talk about this and many other things, I'm excited to be joined by my friend and colleague, Tim Olshansky, who is the Senior Vice President of Engineering here at Zenput, Head of Product and Engineering. So Tim, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Dave. Great to be here. Very excited.
And why don't you, just to kick off, why don't you tell a little bit of your background, kind of what brought you into Zenput?
I've been in the technology industry, probably almost 17 years at this point in various forms. Most recently, before joining Zenput, I was the CTO of a publicly traded construction technology company and left to join Zenput because I saw an opportunity to do the same things that were revolutionizing operations in construction, similarly in restaurant ops or in food service and food retail. And so the opportunity, the people, the company, all of those things aligned. And I was very lucky to join the team and it's been a great ride so far. So I've been with Zenput since November 2018. Progressively, we've grown the business, we've grown the team, of course, and we've been, doing many more interesting things over the last little while.
So Tim, I talked about operations execution as a problem area and also some technology being applied there. Well, why don't we help us establish a baseline understanding, kind of as head of product, how would you define operations execution platforms? What is it? What isn't it? If you can give us, kind of paint a picture for us.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So I think of Opsex as something that typically isn't just about inventory or about your supply chain or just about task management or just about forms or whatever else. It's not meant to be something that only a single slice of your organization is using or only a specific person or set of people. It's not designed to be something you do only in the office at the end of the day. It's something that really is at the nexus where you do your work and as close as possible to where you get your work done. So, systems that are, inherently clunky or slow, definitely not Opsex. Systems that aren't easy to use, definitely not Opsex. So when you think about what it actually is, right? It's a place where you can bring all of the people inside your organization together. It ensures that the right people are able to see the right information at the right time. It goes beyond just the simple daily tasks and checklists or audits that might be getting done. Right? It's, again, not just about the audits. It's about all of the additional work that's going on, not just at the restaurant level or not just at the field level, but at both. It respects the organizational structure, right? How your teams are set up, how you organize your restaurants or stores, how you organize your people, the layers of management that exist within your organization. It really respects your hierarchy. It it ensures that there is the right level of visibility and accountability based on the work that is being done. So it's a system that, for example, you could create some form of leaderboard and pay bonuses, right, to people for getting the most meaningful things done to your business at the right time. I really think of operations execution as something that sort of transcends the basics and gives you the power to see into what is happening at your restaurant from a distance, especially important now. It gives you the opportunity to hold your management team, your co-workers, your colleagues, your team members accountable, ensuring that they're doing the right things at the right time. And it gives you the data to be able to make good decisions about where you need to invest, because as you said earlier, Dave, like there's been a lot of innovation in the front of house, and that's obviously been really easy to pay attention to and track and see results from, right? Digital checkout experiences leading to this kind of improvement in sales. But the back of house now is getting that same treatment, and we've got instances where a 1% improvement in the customer satisfaction score driven by improvements in operations, and this is industry-wide, this is not specific to us, but those improvements have driven increases in sales, right? Repeat business, I'm sure.
Right, a 1% to save, I think about it, Tim, even on productivity, to be able to save, from a team member, every team member saving a half hour a day, or every field team member an hour a day on how they're completing audits, it can have a massive productivity boost. So that's great. So I'd love to bring into the conversation, you do have what I call some pattern recognition. You've gone deep in applying technology in other vertical spaces. You mentioned in construction as a good example of an industry that hadn't been much innovation for a long time, and then there's kind of a storm of innovation. Looking at that pattern recognition, what does that tell you as you've kind of come into Zenput these last couple of years about where the restaurant industry is on kind of our own innovation and adoption curve?
Sure, yeah. And just for some fun anecdotes, so I, earlier part of my career, spent some time in travel and travel software, and saw how travel was very, obviously technology very important to the travel industry, but was late-ish to the game, and saw the transition that went through. Applied that into the construction industry, and construction still, frankly, to this day, I think has the least investment in technology of any industry except hunting and fishing. And ironically, I think the restaurant industry is not too far behind there. So industry-wide, there's definitely a lot of opportunity to improve and use technology to improve those things. And ultimately, I've dabbled in manufacturing at various stages. I've seen how a rigorous process that focuses on getting the right information to the right people at the right time can lead to outstanding improvements in the operations of your business. I think one thing actually we haven't really talked about is like what does operations really mean? And how I've always thought about operations as a whole is ensuring the safety and, importantly, the quality of the product that you're producing. So in the construction industry, naturally, safety and quality are a big deal. Safety of workers, safety of all the people on site, safety of the people who use the building or cross the bridge, as well as ensuring that thing doesn't collapse, right? And then quality as well, same deal. Anybody who's ever had a house remodel knows that you get the occasional corner that gets cut and you have to come back and fix it. And those things, while the real world sort of ways that they go wrong in other industries obviously differ to the restaurant industry. Overcooked food is obviously different to somebody not sanding a piece of wood or possibly putting a nail in the wrong place with it sticking out. But those quality problems are consistent and they're similar. Same with safety, right? We care very deeply about ensuring that our customers' food is safe for the consumption of their customers, of course. And we want to give them the power to do that. And so a lot of the kind of best practices in operations, as operations engineering, operations research, they're consistent. They apply across industries. And what I think we can do with where we are today in the restaurant industry is borrow from other industries that have gone through this. So think manufacturing 30 years ago, Think I mentioned travel, right? Construction, helping our customers digitize what they're doing. That's step one, right? That's the basics. And enable them to be able to apply some structure and rigor to what they're doing, be able to see the patterns of behavior that are occurring within their restaurants that they're not able to see today with the tools that they have available to them, and help build on top of that basic foundation, just like they did when we started putting all kinds of systems and checks in place in construction industry and in the manufacturing industry. And so I think that this trend will continue. Digital transformation is a thing. Industry 4.0 is a thing. Those things are going to continue well into the future. And we right now see the restaurant industry trying to leverage those lessons. And, we, Zenput, are doing the same. I'm sure some others in the market are doing the same thing. And bringing those same capabilities to our customers.
Really interesting, and I do think there's some really interesting parallels to what we see happening in the restaurant industry. I mean, in my role, I great things, I really get a chance to get pretty close to kind of the evolution, kind of the outcomes that some of our customers are driving with technology. And I do see them traversing very distinct stages, and we see a lot of our customers, maybe when we first engaged with them, some that we've been working with for 4 or 5 years or longer now, they were in kind of very paper-based world, manual processes. And then they graduate to this phase two. Very often when they first start working with us or shortly before, they're on the way to try to get a digital reflection of the business. They're trying to digitize, whether it's digitizing forms and communications, and get away from trying to scale through email communications and things like that, and paper checklists. And there's big gains they see there. But I think where we see and honestly get very inspired as well, as a lot of our customers have moved to, I'm arbitrarily call it stage 3 of, they're driving automation. They're trying to actually root out a lot of these manual processes that are kind of getting in the way. And since everyone has, relatively few no one has enough people in their stores, right? No one has enough people in their field as they'd like to. Trying to root out the things that are creating inefficiencies and honestly not the best way to focus their time. So automation, and then some of the things I know you're thinking heavily about is like, where do you even take that next? When we have this, once everything's digitized, we have this digital store of information and data that can drive predictable analytics, kind of getting into the whole AI thing. So that's pretty exciting world that we're in. So on that note, though, let's get some guidance from you. It's journeying through this is not always easy, right? Kind of as you start, some of you might be, a lot of folks listening to this might still have like a paper-based binder, which is fine. And that's what they're trying to drive some consistency in their, across their locations today. What are some of the barriers to moving along and traversing this curve that you see? Some things that folks can look out for.
Yeah, so naturally it's going to differ by type of business, particularly, quick service, casual dining, etc. But there's kind of organizationally within the organization or the brand, perhaps there might be call it like cultural barriers, a history or a comfort with the status quo, and being happy to continue to use paper and paperwork for the last 30 years. Why do we need a change now? What's the point, right? Naturally, we're seeing that change. Generational shifts are happening as new people who've grown up in a technology savvy environment, digitally savvy, are joining the workforce and progressing through management. Naturally, that all transitions, right? There are call it barriers to purchasing devices. There's a simple one. But in order to really take advantage of the fact that you can get the right information at your fingertips and keep track of all the things that need to be happening and communicate with the right people at the right time, the organization also has to have a strategy around providing their workforce with those devices. And so historically, what we saw 5 years ago is that very few of Zenput's customers, and frankly, very few people in the market had ubiquitous tablets or mobile devices. That's shifted now to a almost BYO device strategy. I've heard from various folks, customers, prospects, whoever, that their organizations are now considering not only purchasing devices for the stores or the restaurants, but also allowing their employees to bring their own devices, which it comes with a whole host of additional challenges around how do you manage all of that stuff. But that tends to be a new blocker or a new obstacle that appears. There is obviously the functional and the capabilities that are necessary in order to be successful, which need to be relevant to the sophistication of the organization itself. So, if you're an operator of 10 restaurants, that's one thing. And if you're an operator of 1,000 restaurants, that's a different thing. And you have different problems that need to be solved. And so that capability is often a kind of challenge in and of itself. And the right platforms will solve that, right? And they'll be able to make that happen. But one of the fundamental trends we're seeing throughout technology as a whole, throughout the world as a whole, is this consumerization or democratization of tech. And no longer is there a SVP of IT somewhere making a decision for every single department of what they can and cannot use, but the employees in the corporate office or the directors of ops and their teams in the field being able to use the tools that make them successful. And an important part of that is usability, right? The product not only has to do what it needs to do, but it also has to be incredibly easy to buy and incredibly easy to use in order for it to grow and take root and be successful within the organization.
So Tim, let's drill a little deeper on that ease of use topic, because I know that is so important, especially when you're trying to very decentralized operation. You're trying to have people in very different roles across very wide dispersed regions to be able to, hopefully with not too much training or ramp up on a new tool. How do you build technology that's actually easy to use? Like how do you know if people are succeeding? How do you know if something you're developing is easy to use?
Yeah, the cheat answer is you talk to your users, you talk to your customers, right? So where we are fairly data driven, just like our customers, customer satisfaction or NPS are all important to us, and we survey our customers, we survey our users to understand how that's going, how that's trending, and how that's behaving. In addition to that, we use a lot of analytics that we've built on how our users use our system to determine where are the pain points and opportunities for us to step in and make something easier to use than it may have been in the past. We naturally talk to our users on a regular basis. So I have a product management team. One of their goals as a team is to ensure that they're talking to customers every week, right? So if that's one conversation, that's 50, there's definitely a lot to be said there. And that extends throughout the rest of our organization. We're very customer centric. We do what we can to ensure that everybody from naturally our customer success team, talking to our customers all the time, to the software engineers on the team are able to hear the voice of the user, the voice of the customer. And we take empathy very seriously. Empathy is one of our core values. We build it into how we engage with our coworkers, but importantly, putting ourselves in the shoes of our users as well. And so we see that come through culturally in other ways. So we've got our teams, collecting feedback from their conversations, and we compile it, and we take a structured and rigorous process to reviewing it all. We ensure that whenever we are ready to release something, that we've gone through a decent amount of testing to iron out the kinks, both internally and also with some of our customers who perhaps more comfortable with these sorts of half-finished solutions whilst they're being worked through, to give us some feedback. We will often do usability studies, or even have kind of a high fidelity prototype that we get the customer or the user feedback on, to ensure that the final result at the end of the day is a thing that's going to make our customers better at what they do, and help them do that in a much faster and more effective way.
That's great. So let's turn to a topic that I know is near and dear to every product leader's heart. So let's talk a little bit about product roadmap. And personally, as a marketing guy, this is a great opportunity. Every marketing guy wants to kind of get to pin down the product guy. It's like, what's on the roadmap? What are you going to commit to, Tim? But I'm going to start with an easy question. First, we get to look back at stuff you've already done. So what are some of the capabilities that the team has recently released that you're excited about, just looking back in recent quarters?
Sure, yeah. I think there's been a bunch of cool stuff that we have launched and we've had great feedback from our customers. So I think one of the really big things that we announced earlier this year was the connected store and all of the pieces that support that. So, we have 3 products today. We have our operations execution platform. We have our core product. We have our food preparation and handling product that some of our customers are using today, and as well as our food temperature monitoring product. And all of those things together give us this, you spoke about it before, this digital twin, this new view into what is happening at the store level, at the restaurant level. On top of that, we've been driving more and better ways to assign work to stores or to team members within stores. We've been successful in launching announcements as a way for our customers to communicate with their area leaders or their restaurants themselves. We've seen great adoption through that. We've seen that drive a lot of success in either changing behaviors or improving outcomes for our customers themselves. We've got a few other things that are very close to being released in that same vein. I won't take the thunder away from you, Dave, since the marketing team loves to announce the new stuff, but we've got a few additional things down that same path of, driving additional collaboration between brands and the franchisees, between the kind of senior management and not the hourly, but the store level employees. So your general managers. We've got some things that are greatly improving the ability for our customers to ensure that if their refrigerator goes bad, they're going to save that product. But more importantly, that there is a complete workflow to ensure that if something is wrong, that we track it all the way through to completion, they can come back and fix it. And so we're building on this operations platform in all of our products to ensure that our customers are able to do the right work at the right time and get the information that they need.
All right, Tim, so that's great. A good look back and giving us a little glimpse into what's coming soon. Let me give you a chance now to look a little further into the future. Like, what areas are you really excited for the team? Like, areas that you and the team are already digging into or that are excited to kind of devote resources to dig into in terms of longer term roadmap?
There's so much, and I don't know how much time we have, so I won't go too crazy, but the way I think about what we're doing over the next months, weeks, years, sort of falls into 2 buckets, right? It's helping our customers drive the right work and drive the right behavior at the restaurant level and throughout their hierarchy, as well as giving them the right information to be able to ensure that the changes that they're making are successful, right? So there's a virtuous cycle of this stuff. And in order to be able to do that, there's definitely a set of things that they need in Zenput today and frankly in their restaurants to be successful, right? We saw this trend, frankly, I being in the IT industry or in the technology industry, I've had the benefit of fairly sophisticated monitoring tools that are able to keep on top of not just the people, but also the kind of the servers, the data centers, all that stuff to tell me how things are going. And we're trying to give our customers the same tools and capabilities today. So what does that actually mean, right? We're looking at ways to make it far easier to drive additional work and not just create tasks. Tasks is table stakes, but a lot more intelligence and improvements in the processes and workflows for ensuring that the right work is being done and that it's being tracked throughout the life cycle of the work in the store or in the restaurant. We are looking at ways to help them more effectively not report back, but get insight back on how that work is behaving. So not just that this thing got done and so forth, but hey, this thing got done, something went wrong, they came and fixed it, and now the new behavior is working consistently. So frankly, they don't need to pay attention, right? They've driven the change and they're being successful. We want to go further than that, well beyond that. And ultimately, I think we want to be in a world where our customers don't really have to use us that much, right? Which sounds sort of ridiculous, but I think our success comes from helping our customers do the right thing at the right time and not needing to use a system or a tool all the time, every day. And in order to do that, again, we have to help them drive the right work, but we have to invest in things like AI. And I hate that buzzword, but I think it sort of makes its point. We want to help our customers be given not just what's happened, but they need to know why it happened and how they can do something differently in the future. And we're in early stages. We did that with our food temperature monitoring product, right? Our connected store starts to give some of these tools here, alerting and all of the things that come off that. But not just alerting. So if you think it a little bit further, if you're trying to improve the way your business runs, keeping track of when things went wrong and then the work to change it is obviously one part of it. But did you change the culture of the organization? Did you change the behaviors of the people? Did you train the person to do the right thing in the future, right? So if for whatever reason, depending on who you are, you taste your food, right? If that's one of the steps in your process, where anytime a member of your team prepares, let's just say, a new set of beef patties, right? Do you ensure that at least 1 out of every 100 or so is tasted for quality purposes? And if that's not being done, it's not enough to just track that it wasn't done. You kind of have to reinforce why that's important, that it's part of your values, that there's a training program. And so we're trying to build a smarter system that helps our customers more effectively manage their team members and more effectively drive improvements to their business without having to go and script every little detail and keep on top of those little things.
That's great. You paint a very exciting vision. I have one little question. Are we going to build robots?
I mean, we're almost there. One thing I didn't mention actually when we were talking before was really the work that we're doing, sets the foundation for using new technologies, right? So I mentioned AI, but better kind of alerting or analytics, recommendations, maybe even suggestions how to improve or optimize your process, like cut out these 5 steps because no one ever does them, or when they are done, they almost never have any impact on customer satisfaction scores or sales. Beyond that, finding new ways to more effectively keep on top of the work without having to enter it into the system yourself manually. So that could be everything from cameras to robots to infrared sensors to I think Amazon Dash buttons inside your kitchens, refrigerators, whatever it happens to be, to more effectively keep on track and keep on top of what needs to be done.
All right, well, you're kind of getting at it. My next question was really kind of rising up. And if we were to give Tim kind of your own crystal ball, on the topic of robots, what do you think the restaurant of the future is going to look like? And hopefully we'll play a part in helping to shape how that business runs. But what will that restaurant look like?
I think there's a lot of exciting things that are happening in the industry. So I think it's important also to separate and think about this between casual dining versus a quick service restaurant, because different experiences and those leads to different transformations or technology transformations in the future. So I think the restaurant of the future is definitely going to have a much more digital experience. There is going to be, particularly in the QSR space, we're already seeing this with kiosks in many brands today, where more and more of the transaction is going to happen without involving a human, right? No one's going to walk up to the front counter and say, hey, I want this. Instead, they're going to tap it on a tablet. It's going to be stored on their phone. Hell, they might show up to the restaurant and the app itself might be smart enough to know what they usually order and already pre-select a bunch of stuff, right? So you're gonna see a lot of these improvements in the transaction experience and in the front of house, that's for sure. Although that's naturally going to integrate into getting better data on how satisfied your customers are. Because right now, if you're printing out a receipt and the receipt has a QR code that somebody has to scan in order to be able to leave your feedback, that's not as effective as if it were, say, a push notification that reminds you to leave a review or provide a rating, a star rating, or whatever it happens to be. So front of house experience already transforming. You can already see where that's going, and that's going to keep going. I think that is naturally going to lead to some changes of what the restaurant footprint looks like and the layout and things like that. This pandemic is certainly not helping, or helping, whichever way you look at it. But the back of the house is an interesting one, because the back of the house is necessarily more people oriented, but the future for the person in the back of the house is one that is less visibly reliant on technology. And what I mean by that is, I think that there is a future in which you've got voice commands are more effective, or voice communication is more inbuilt into application, that leads to better ways of interacting, that doesn't require somebody to take off a glove, use a tablet or use a mobile phone, wash their hands, then put a glove back on and get back to work. So that's the basics. You will likely see AI or machine vision or computer vision applied to cameras that will be able to track what needs to happen inside the restaurant and provide the right sort of notifications to the field leaders, to the store managers, to the people in the stores or in the restaurants, to be able to take action, right? Whatever that may be. Condiment stand's dirty, or tables are out of whack, or the latest delivery from the commissary this morning hasn't yet been unpacked, and that should have been unpacked by 7 a.m. and it's 8:30. What the hell is going on? You want to notify a whole bunch of people. There's just that piece. And then if you extrapolate that further, if you no longer need the device to keep track of the work, instead you're just being notified of the things that are going wrong, and then on a weekly basis you're being told all the things that have gone right that have led to these great results. You're able to, as an operator, spend more time thinking about how to differentiate against your competitors, how to further improve your business and drive cultural change, how to help your team members stay engaged and be successful, without having to keep track of every individual piece of work that needs to happen, because you've got the tools to do so. And I think it's actually an interesting thing where right now we're putting more technology into restaurants, but in the long run, I actually think that there's going to be less technology itself in the hands of the people in the restaurants, and more that it's a smart, connected restaurant.
All right, Tim, thank you for that look into the future. What I want to do is I'm going to pull it way back now to here and now, and also going to bring it down into the ground floor in this topic of technology. And for those that are kind of attending this summit and attending this session and kind of had an opportunity to kind of hear kind of where you think things are going, and some of the kind of where Zenput's focused, what are some of the pitfalls that people should look out for when exploring new technologies for the restaurant operation? There's a lot of shiny toys out there. There's a lot of possibility. What are some tips that you might have for them to kind of navigate to the right partners, to the right technologies, and to get to value once they decide to adopt a technology?
Yeah, I think it's really important, sort of starting at the big picture level, to remember that most technology purchases you make, you're going to use, hopefully, assuming you make the right one, for quite some time. So plan for the success, right? Plan for a tool, a system, a technology that you're going to use for many years. And if you're picking somebody, you want to make sure that they have a vision, right? That they have a vision that aligns with your business, that is going to enable you to succeed in the long run, and is going to be investing behind that vision so that you're able to get the full value out of your choice. And it's not just the vision, of course, right? They've got to follow through and ensure that they're providing the things that you need. But beyond that, they should have a vision that isn't just an incredibly small thing where you're going to need to go and buy 50 or 100 of these different tools, because that in and of itself creates a whole new host of problems, and likely your IT teams will not be super happy, or your IT person, depending on who you have with you. You want to make sure that they're also not too broad, right? That it's everything in the kitchen sink, and they don't do anything well, they just do lots of it. And that might seem like a good idea initially, until you start getting deeper and they're a mile wide and an inch deep, and basically the core processes or the core needs you had weren't actually addressed. So there's the right sizing of what it is you need to do, and that requires some introspection. What are the outcomes you're looking to drive? What are the transformative parts of your business that need to use some new technology, and certainly we can help suggest many, but I won't do my sales pitch. And beyond that, you want somebody who is definitely customer centric, who's going to listen to your feedback, may not always be able to do everything you ask, but at the very least gives you time of day and is going to ensure that the solution works for you. Somebody that cares about the success of your business, both from ensuring that you're achieving your outcomes, as I said, but also in terms of protecting you from any risks that might materialize from a tool or a system like this. And that falls into a couple of different areas. That can be, classically data security is important, and privacy today. So you want somebody who you can trust, who is taking the right steps to secure your data, to secure your people, and ensure that the right stuff doesn't leak out to the wrong hands. But on top of that is also painfully aware of what liability means to you, and ensures that the system or the tool allows you to control who should and should not be able to see things that could have an adverse impact on your business, right? So you want to be mindful of who you're working with and how seriously they take your business and your security. And then lastly, you want somebody who is not just a vendor, but who's somebody you can partner with, and somebody who's easy to work with, who has great people that you are spending a lot of time with, because naturally you're driving transformation in your business and you can't do it without the help of partners. And a good partner will be there with you, will identify your pain points, will work with you to overcome those things, and ensure that people within your business are armed with the right tools and knowledge and processes to be able to succeed.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Tim. I think that gives some really good takeaway tips on kind of like things to look out for. So with that, let's call it a wrap. Again, thank you for taking the time for this session, and I hope you take advantage of a lot of the other the keynote and a lot of the other amazing ops leaders and some of your peers and others in the industry here to kind of share some of their ideas. And I look forward to seeing you at another Zenput event soon.